my next guest to earn his way through school. Worked a number of jobs: ice cream server at Baskin-Robbins, landscaping, tree removal, construction, operated a jackhammer, got a degree from Cleveland State, becoming the first person in his family to graduate from college, law degree at Washington. From there, trial lawyer in St. Louis, he meets Carl Karcher, the financially troubled founder of Carl's Jr. He ends up running the damn company, became CEO of CKE, which owns Carl's Jr. and Hardee's. He co-wrote a book called Job Creation, How It Really Works and Why Government Doesn't Understand It. He's policy advisor for America First Policies. And again, former CEO of CKE Restaurants. Please welcome back to the program, Andy Puzder. Hey, Andy, how are you?
Hey, Larry. I'm good, buddy. Good to be here. Good to hear your voice.
Andy, you saw me struggling with that man's question. How would you have answered that? Have you seen a time like this before?
No, and I'm 70 years old. That means I've been alive for about 30% of the country's history. We're a very young country. Mm-hmm. But in my 70 years, I've never seen anything this divisive. And I lived through the 60s with the Vietnam War. I lived through Watergate. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, the Reagan presidency, where people were very much opposed to Ronald Reagan. Then Bill Clinton, who divided the country. But I've never seen anything like this. The hatred that the left had for President Trump, and still has, they can't let go of it. This hatred they have for President Trump is beyond anything I've ever seen before.
You know, Andy, when he got elected, and I'm watching the news, and they're all freaking out, and I said to myself, okay, it'll take about 3 or 4 months to realize the world's not going to blow up, and no matter how bombastic he is, he's simply going to exercise the kinds of policies any standard Republican would do. They'll calm down, and it'll be okay. They never calm down, Andy.
No, they never did, and I think the reason is he coming after the Obama administration, his economic policies really put the lie to everything we were told throughout the 8 years of the Obama administration, which was that more government was good for you, stimulus was going to create growth, we needed more government, more regulation, higher taxes. Trump comes in and cuts all of that. In 2019, we had the strongest year for the labor market in the history of the United States. It was an incredible year. For everybody, for minorities, for people that weren't minorities. I mean, everybody ended up doing better. And throughout his administration, he kept putting the lie to what we've been told about globalism, what we've been told about socialism, what we've been told about big government, and they hated it. They just couldn't stand it.
I'm talking to Andy Puzder. He is the policy advisor for America First Policies, former CEO of CKE Restaurants. You know, Andy, the night he won, I'm watching CNN, and Van Jones is on, and Van Jones is giving his analysis of what happened. He called it a white lash against a changing America that's becoming less white and more people of color. Now, Donald Trump got a higher percentage of the black vote than Mitt Romney did 4 years earlier, got a lower percentage of the white vote than Mitt Romney did 4 years earlier. And in this recent election, 2020, Andy, as you know, he increased his percentage of the vote of blacks, of Hispanics, of Asians, of women. The only major demo that he didn't go up in was white males. Now, there are, as a percentage of America, fewer white males as a percentage in 2020 than 2016. So if Van Jones' analysis is accurate, the percentage of white males should have been much higher in 2020 than in 2016, since, after all, the reason Trump got elected is because a bunch of white people feared the growing percentage of the country being people of color.
Yeah, Van Jones is, I know, he's beneath contempt. Look, President Trump, back in 2016, when running for office in Detroit, went right into the city, spoke at a church, and told a group of blacks, he said, look, vote for me. What have you got to lose? And it was a good question, because really the Democratic Party had done nothing for them for years, as your movie demonstrated. And then in 2020, he came back and he said, look, you've got, blacks, you've had the lowest poverty rate ever. You've got higher median family income than you've ever had. You've got record lows in unemployment. This has been pretty good for you. And he also took actions with respect to prisoners. He did
the First Step Act.
What do they call it?
The First Step
zones
Act
in the city.
Enterprise zones.
Enterprise zones. He did. I mean, he did a lot to bring the black community into the Republican Party, where they used to be and where they still should be. I think he was rewarded with a vote. But what Van Jones said was ridiculous, and the way they tried to characterize. I know President Trump. You know President Trump. He's not a racist at all, and to accuse him of that was absolutely abhorrent.
Andy, I think something else is fundamentally happening in the black community. Obviously, these cities like Detroit and Baltimore and St. Louis have been run by the left wing for a very long time. The schools are awful, the crime off the charts. But I think something happened during the Obama years. There was a woman named Peggy Joseph. I don't know if you remember this little video, but it had millions of hits on YouTube. She was a young woman. She was crying when Obama was elected, and she said, he'll help me put gas in my car. He'll help me pay my mortgage. If I support him, he'll support me. Well, gas prices went up. Her mortgage didn't go down. And a few years later, she was asked about this, and she says, I'm no longer naive. I now realize it's up to me. It's not up to government. And Barbara Boxer once said something, Andy. She said, what happens in your house is far more important than what happens in the White House. And I think a lot of black people felt, Andy, that if only there were a black person in the White House who felt my pain, who understood me, my life will be better. Well, nobody can say Obama wasn't empathetic, and the black life was worse by almost every major metric. And don't quote me. This is Tavis Smiley who said that. So I think a lot of black people realize just having somebody black with a D after the name doesn't necessarily mean my life is going to get any better. Now, Andy, I know I've talked a lot. We're at a break. Don't go away, Andy. I want to ask you about what you came on for, which is to talk about the minimum wage. So don't go away, Andy. Andy Puzder is my guest, former CEO of CKE Restaurants. I'm Larry Elder.